Are there any changes? All right, hearing none, then I need a motion, we approve the agenda as presented.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Aaron, second by Dwayne, all in favor? It is approved. I want to ask you, would you please stand as we do the pledge? Salute, pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bow heads. Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful day that you've given us, Lord. We thank you, Lord, for our teachers and our administrators, Lord, and our students, Lord. We just pray for a safe and a wonderful year. Thank you for what you've done. We pray for this evening, God, Lord, that you'd help us, Lord, to make decisions that are according to your will, Lord. Especially tonight, God, we want to remember all the folks in Barrow County and the school system, and especially the families, Lord, of the lost loved ones and those who were injured in yesterday's tragic event. We just pray, Lord, that you'd wrap them in your arms, comfort them, give them the peace that only you can give, Lord. And we just ask all these things in your precious holy name. Amen. Next item is the consent items. You have a copy of the minutes for August the 1st. Two other meetings, I think. August the 5th and August the 22nd. Any questions or any changes with those? All right, next, no public participation, do we? Next is the superintendent's report.
All right, before we get into the operational financial, just have a couple of FYIs to share with you guys. First day, first week is going well. Little things here and there as they always come up, but hearing from the principals, and they've had a pretty smooth start. Got some kids to work out in a few areas, but it's been great. It was good to get out and get to see everybody enjoying their first day and having a good time back, and hearing stories and getting to talk to kids. I heard first graders talking about ex-boyfriends that are already bothering them. That was wonderful. Our principals did a great job getting things organized. Our teachers were great on the first, so far this whole first week, so that's been great. Two, just from, you mentioned as you were praying, from a safety standpoint, our safety plans are already in place. The schools are updating some things with some students on it because we have some things we do with some of our special needs students to make sure we have medications and whatnot, so that takes a little bit of time. But the plan itself is in place. They've trained the staff on it. We have drills, intruder drills scheduled for this month already. As part of the new deal that was last year, we had to have those done by October 1st, so those are scheduled and done. We talked with 911 Center about using our Centegix badges for those drills and letting the kids get a sense of that, but we're also going to make sure that we announce to them before anything happens, hey, this is not only a drill, this is practice, especially in light of what happened yesterday. We don't have any scheduled this week, nor do we have any scheduled on September 11th, but we do have them kind of scattered throughout the month. And we'll probably push out something district-wide just to let parents know that we're doing those this month. We did last night, we mentioned it, but we'll do that again just because we don't want to cause any panic when we start doing things. That's part of what we do to practice and make sure that school had the Centegix badges, and the buttons were pushed, people locked their doors, as quickly as they could go, but that was already inside. And I was looking at some data we got from GMA and some different stuff today, and a lot of them are that way. They're already there, and so it's how can you be prepared. But it was the response that came quickly from the officers that were on site that helped mitigate some of the things there. So they've had discussions with their staff. I'm sure they got questions today from folks, and we had a few things come up that we talked about too. But that's first and foremost at the beginning of the year always, but particularly after yesterday. So if you have any safety questions, you're welcome to ask those. Milestones, EOC and EOG math is back. EOG came back late last week. EOC came back this week. So we're already digging into some data analysis. That data is embargoed. We can't share that publicly until probably toward the end of the month is what they said. They haven't given us a hard date yet. But as we've looked at it, we've got some positives and we've got some room for growth in some areas. So we'll talk about those as a district level and look through those. We're already kind of digging on our end, and I know the schools are doing the same with theirs. And then I had a couple of things, I'm gonna go ahead and let Chris talk about if you don't care now, before we get into the things that we're gonna vote on a little bit later. If you want, Laura, you good?
Sure.
I know we're a little out of order, it wasn't on the agenda, but like I said, it was an FYI, we're not voting on it, it's just kind of let you know some things.
Okay.
We'll go ahead and do that now.
Now, which one do you want to start with first?
I'll start with the fence, because you guys asked about the fence over here last week, so he can give you an update on that.
You get the fence part. So, the fence that we talked about that goes up from the ELC, we talked about doing that even before it was finished. And when everything got up and it got, looking good, that fence looks pretty bad. There's another area around the grilling area that they requested that we put a fence around, mainly for safety purposes, and that quote is $17,900. We can take that out of contingency, if that's what y'all want to do. We're going to have $94,044 left out of contingency that we can take that out of, if that's what you want to do. So that's totally up to you how you want to handle that.
How many linear feet is that? That fence?
I don't have that.
Just to.
It includes both the safety fence and the one going to
That's correct.
both of them.
So it'd be a 6-foot high fence from basically the back of the visitors on up to the ELC, and then a 4-foot fence around that grilling area. The grilling area is to keep kids away from grills, what it's for. And that would have 2 4-foot gates in it too. It's a legit concern. So 17.9 for those 2. And again, we can use our contingency money if that's what we choose to do, okay?
Chris, you said it was from where did you say the other one is, that's the grilling area, but the further one is in?
It's from the decorative fence to the building.
Correct.
Package.
So there's a rolling gate where behind the visitors,
Yeah, where we go in if we got pass.
correct.
There, yeah.
So basically from right there up to the whole gym at the ELC, that's where it would go.
That includes painting the gate.
That's correct.
the gate.
That's right.
We just got this information in the last day or two, that's why you had it so ahead of time, we've been trying to get some quotes and some pricing on those.
If we chose to do that, once that's done, we could actually close that job out. That would be the final thing that we would have to do for anything over there, so whatever y'all choose to do.
I think it needs to be done. Because eyesore if we don't do it, and for safety reasons, for sure. I mean, I'm all for giving some money to take care of that, get it looking good.
Lights at Murray High?
Yes.
Any more questions about the fencing? So lighting at Murray High, we had a discussion and looked at replacing the lights at Murray High now, and it's something we talked about. It's really dim over there, the gym especially. So we went through and we got a light count of, how many we had and that sort of thing. And we can do this in 10 different directions, doesn't really matter. But if we wanted to try to get the gym done before basketball season, we could probably pull that off. So we're looking at about $10,000. We would do the labor, of course, that's material. But I can do that for around $10,000. Relamp that gym, probably take me about a week or so roughly to do it.
You're talking about the old gym?
Correct, the
Yeah.
existing gym.
Okay, just make sure.
I think as they talked about the lights when they were doing the whole county's got brand new lights, energy efficient lights. Murray was the one that we weren't sure about because it was gonna be a matter of, all right, we're getting ready to do some remodeling and some things over there. But when you go over there, it's dark.
It's dark.
Classrooms are dim. And we talked about the idea, if we put the lights over there, those can be saved and reused when the remodeling happens, but it's gonna be a few years before that remodeling happens.
Yeah.
So everybody else is getting bright things and whatnot, they would still be kind of a little less than that. But we talked about, that's a SPOS project, that's that type of thing, so it's not something that come out of the general budget because it's that. But there were some tricky things over at Murray that made it a little different, so that's what Chris has been looking into.
It's not as cut and dry as the other buildings because of the way those lights are. I won't get into the details, but it's not as easy, I guess, as the rest of the buildings. There would, if we did that, if we did it now and did the remodel on that building probably wouldn't come until 2028, when we got to that phase of it, okay? So we're talking several more years down the road. If we did that, you just have to understand, there's gonna be some that were damaged and broken that we would have to replace. You can expect that, but if we wanted to do it now, we can do it now, if that's what you choose to do. One of the things that we talked about, and I've got the numbers right here, we will get back from Northwest, we're in the process of doing the paperwork now, about $189,000. You continue to see this left over. Here again, if that's how you want to use that money, that's up to y'all, but about $189,000 is what we're looking about, to get back from that project. So, depending on how you wanted to go about it and the quantity, do you want to do just classrooms, do you want to do everything? Y'all would have to give me some direction on that, but my guess is, and I'm kind of, I'm giving you a best guess, maybe 120 is what we would have in that building, somewhere in that neighborhood. And I think I would be pretty accurate in those numbers. So we can use Northwest contingency money. Again, that's up to y'all. But I think if we did the entire building, we would be looking at roughly 120.
The more pressing thing was the gym.
That's right.
If we want to get something going to that pretty quick, that would be, we thought, maybe
Around $10,000.
to take care of the gym.
But I would need to know that pretty quick, because there's a lot, you have to have somebody design the lighting in there, you can't just guess, it has to be correct. And so somebody would come in, and they would design it and tell me this is the location, this is the quantity, and that takes time. So, if you choose to do that now, I would need to know that pretty quick before, we get cranked up in the basketball season.
What's Ms. Morrow's thoughts on this? You think it needs to be done?
I do, actually. It's something that's been discussed for a few years now, and that gym will be used regularly, even when the new one's constructed as well, so it wouldn't just be until the new, it would be continued to be used, so.
And I've had teachers that talk to me just about the lighting in the classrooms and those kind of
It
things.
is dark over there.
Since we're getting
Walking
anybody
to
else.
school, it's dark.
The issue, I think the concern was in the beginning was, do we want to do this since we're getting ready to remodel it anyway? But if we can reuse the lights,
Yeah.
we may actually get them at a cheaper price now than we would get them in 3, 4.
Right.
Well, the remodeling's gonna be 4 or 5 years down the road probably.
Correct.
So,
It was not in the original scope of work when we did all the other schools, because we went in thinking, hey, we're gonna remodel it anyway. What we didn't know at the time was exactly when that phase of the project would happen. Now, time's gone by, we know, and we've got, 4 years, maybe 5, until that's gonna happen, that part of the building. So if we chose to do that, we can do it. I would need to send out another RFP, because the one that's written now, I'm gonna change vendors, and it was written specifically for a light, so I would lose 28 days at least, with the RFP being out there. So it's something that we can work on during the school year, and we can make that happen, if that's what you want to do. Any questions?
I like the gym idea, and I'd put off some of it, because invariably, like, gutting it and trying to save something is gonna add.
That's gonna be,
So I might do the gym and maybe classrooms if there were. But I'd kick that can a little ways, I think.
and it's like I said, you can do it different ways. We can do the gym, just classrooms, you can kick it around every how you wanna do it.
There's a lot of.
Lot of variables. But you're right, if we did the whole building, you could bank on damaged lights, broken lights, that sort of thing, that you would have to go back and do, again.
later.
Yeah, you can bank on that. So, again, it's, ever what your thoughts and opinions are, we'll do whatever.
If you, there's no ceiling in the gym, right?
No, it's just
So
technique.
when you redo the lights in the gym, the ceiling is remodeled, right? Well, there's nothing to remodel in the gym, right?
No, well, hadn't got that far. They may want to go in and paint the ceiling because it's beige, should be white. But it's, it's pretty old, but that's nothing that you can't put a bag over, paint the paint it and be done with it. You know, we can do that.
I would be in favor of the gym, and then beyond that, it would be where it's really needed, and that would be, you'd have to make that call.
Okay. Well, what I can do is, you know, we know that the gym is about 10, and I can put together some numbers for, say, just the classrooms, put together some numbers for everything, and then let y'all look at it, take a look, see what you think, and then we'll go from there. That would tell me about how the RFP would be written too, and I would need to know that.
What we wanted to do tonight was just kind of introduce the idea and talk about what you may want to do. The gym was the one that was like, hey, that's one we can knock out pretty quick. And it doesn't, it doesn't have to come out of the general budget when we do that. So the rest of it is a little more detailed and takes some time, and we're not as much of a hurry with that. If it gets the gym stuff done, we can go ahead and do that probably before basketball season. We'll have an issue. And the rest of it, you know, we can get it as we go. We can talk to Ms. Morrow and her staff over there and figure out what we need to do there. But
So I'll put together some numbers in some different formats, let y'all look at it, and then we'll make a decision on how to go from there, okay?
we can look up that on Northwest real quick while you're up.
Sure. We're done.
There you go.
The, 4 years and we're done, right? But yeah, it turned out great. Even on the first day, had had 3 little minor issues we had to fix by 9 o'clock in the morning, and you know, just a little bit of, you know, here and there that you can expect with a job of that size that was done in that short amount of time. It's pretty amazing, to be honest with you. But yeah, it turned out really good. You need to go take a look if you haven't seen it. It turned out real well. You did? That's right. Yeah, I saw you up there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you haven't taken a look, go take a look. It turned out really good.
It's really nice.
Yeah, it turned out good.
I'm really happy.
Yep.
Thank you, Chris. All right, next up, our financial update. Dr. Smith.
Don't have too much to go over tonight, so that's always good news. First thing we'll talk about are the SPLOST deposits for, this is the collection as of August, and if you can see up there, I'll try to make that we've got August of 21, we had collections of around 526,000. August of 22 was the anomaly of 943,000. August of 23, we back down to 554, and August of this year, 24, 548,000. So we're about 24 months into this SPLOST referendum, and we've collected around 14.5 million, which means we're over halfway on collections. So that's one of the indicators that lets us know that August of 25 will be another 12 months into it. August of 26, if we went by these collections, would be well over the 25 million. So that's why we're kind of looking at December, January, February of 26 being the time that these collections actually max out. So that's where we stand. So collections are doing well. Next thing I'm still giving you the June information. We will close out June as of the end of September. We paid the August payroll. That is, you know, August payroll is part of our June financials. So we have maybe just about 2 more entries to make for June 30th, and then we'll be able to close that out. We have to have it closed out by September 30th. So we're still looking at June information, and these are actual, so you can see where cash is running pretty much a little bit like it was last month, but reported last month, but it's a little bit lower than we had last year. Here's our actuals so far. We've had revenues of around 73,415,000. That is actual collections, around 99%, so that's good. Our problem runs to, of course, expenditures exceeding revenues. So expenditures, with our July and August payrolls in there, hit around 78 million. That's where we're still hovering around that $4.6 million. That number will potentially hit 4.7 with the two entries we still have left to make. But we will end up somewhere between the 4.6 and the 4.7. Hopefully with a $8.3 million fund balance. Okay, so we're still looking at June. These statements are exactly the same numbers. It just compares June of this year to June of last year. Exact same numbers. You can see there's the 73 million that we received this year compared to around 69 million last year. So revenues did increase. You know, that's an increase in QPE, that's an increase in your taxes and your local property taxes and all those revenues that came in. But then you also have to look at expenses. So we had around 78 million. There is that same exact number, which is around 99% of the expenses compared to around 70 million this time last year. I want to reiterate that those expenses are not because there was an over expense within our general budget. Those expenses came from absorbing all of the things that we were paying with the CARES Fund. ESSER money is gone, it's completely finished, we collected all that we had, and when those expenses, when ESSER money was finishing out as this previous school year ended, we had to pay all those subs and all those permanent positions and all the software expense, Chromebook expense, we had to pay all that out of the general budget. So had we known that, when we were passing the 23-24 budget, it would have still been $4.7 million. We would have just put it in the budget and had a deficit. It was one of those things that we knew we were gonna run into. So looks like that's how we're gonna end next month. I will be bringing you the final FY24 numbers. So I'll be bringing you the final numbers on this, and then I'll be bringing you the FY25, how we're at right now for July, August, and September, and I'll bring that to you in October. So we'll look at the year-end final for FY24, and then we'll be done with that, and we'll start talking about, from this point forward, everything in FY25. Any questions?
I have a question. I was talking to someone the other day that does another systems stuff, and he said that their person in charge makes the budget, but it has to be balanced. They cannot go over. So do we not ever do that? Like have a balanced budget?
Well, when I was in Tennessee, it was mandatory, you had to have a balanced budget in Tennessee. So revenues and expenditures had to match. You
Yeah.
couldn't present a budget that was not balanced. So in Georgia, you are not required to have a balanced budget as long as you have a fund balance. So it's different in this state prior to other states. But is the goal to have a balanced budget? Yes, of course. In order to do that, you have to cut expenditures to meet what your revenue is going to be. Now, I can tell you also in Tennessee, one of the workarounds was that if you had more expenditures than you had revenues, what did you do? Just added more revenues, whether you collected them or not. That was one way that people balance budgets. I think that this is a better indicator. This, to me, is a true picture. You know exactly how much your revenues are, or anticipate them being. You know pretty much what your expenditures are going to be, with 80% of that being payroll and benefits. So to me, that is a true picture of your budget. You know, it doesn't do any good for us to make it even if we're not going to collect the revenues. So moving forward, we have to look at, if we have a deficit of 1.5 or 1.6, how are we going to reduce that deficit before we pass that budget as we go into FY26? and 27.
I think looking at the budgets over the last several years, probably 10, 12 years, because I was curious, because I thought, well, we've got this fund balance that's built up, you know, all these systems, when we looked at different ones, they had some varying amounts of fund balance. The budget, I kept thinking, okay, the budget must have been always showing a surplus, and it didn't. Most of the time, almost every year, except for I think one, the projected budget was showing a deficit of some amount. But as the year went on, more revenues came in, or we spent less than we said we were going to, which created those surpluses. So I think the onus will be on us going forward, even as we budget things, looking at this year, we're trying to think, okay, we said we think the deficit's gonna be, 1.6, whatever we said it was. How can we trim that down as we go along? Once we get September salaries and payroll and all that kind of fixed out, we'll have a good idea of where we are, because that's 85% of our budget. So we can then begin to make decisions, okay, hey, we projected pretty good, we projected higher than what we thought we were gonna be, or, oh shoot, we projected a little bit lower, so now we've gotta adjust this expenditure we can control along the way.
You can still, basically, what he's explained is you can still have a balanced budget this year. If our expenditures come in less than revenues, or, equal to
Extra
revenues, we
revenues
can
come
still
in.
have a balanced budget. And, one of the things that I've stressed before is sometimes we micromanage the operational side of it. We try to go down there and we try to take all of our money away from things that we might need on the operations side. We have to look at the fact that 80 to 85% is all personnel. And those are where your costs are. And you can go down here and nickel and dime all this to death, but eventually you're gonna have to go over here and take care of business over here. That's all there is to it. And, that's a good indicator this year of how close we got to doing that. And did we make an impact on that personnel side? And, if so, what does the impact need to be for 26? Because we gotta continue to go that direction. And operation costs are gonna continue to have to increase. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome, good question. This is basically where our investment pool is. Still kind of just sitting around the $2 million mark. We've been using all the money that we've been getting for QBE and all the money that's been coming in. I've been having to use it to do the July and August payrolls and expenses. So we're just kind of sitting with money in savings, I like to say, and we're getting some interest off of it. For July, we got around $9,000. We've collected, since we started doing this, nearly $384,000 of money that we wouldn't have had we not been in the investment pool. So something that I'm proud of that we've been able to do. Any more questions on that? We've got 3 POs. Okay, so these 3 POs are pretty cut and dry. The first one is on the, coming out of the general fund. This was in our FY25 budget, something that we anticipated. It's the Google Workspace, student and staff, I want to say
It's the business Google Gmail
It's the
software.
Google world that we all have to pay for. So if we use it, and so I don't think many Chromebooks would run without it. So we're at $30,875, and that is for that takes us from October of this year to this time of October of next year. So we're gonna be crossing, this will take us through this school year and the beginning of next school. Next, we have a Lexia. Now, last time we met, we did Alexia. It was different. This is Lexia. This is from Teaching and Learning, but it's for the letters.
It is, Kathy. It is actually being paid for out of the grant we wrote and were awarded. So we were awarded the full cost of this purchase order. So,
It's kind of,
it's our second one that we've done in collaboration with special education.
yes.
So we've gotten about $100,000 for this work. So.
We actually had this budgeted in the general budget because we needed it, but we knew we
Correct.
were writing the grant, hoping we got it. So this will be $50,000 out of the general budget that don't have to come. So we're talking about saving money on the expenditure side. There's an area where they wrote that grant, and I know they worked hard on that.
So keep in mind, when they do grants and all that, most of this is a drawdown type of situation where we'll expense it, we'll pay for it, and then we'll go grab the money from the grant and pay ourselves back. Okay?
You've got 404 on there, that's a federal something, right?
Please,
So, will you be paying this out of your money first and then get it from federal money?
that's how all federal
Okay.
programs are.
So you have to pay, even though it says 404, you gotta pay it
Yes,
first.
that's right. It just keeps it off our books,
Okay.
just like Title I, Title II, ESSER. Those are all programs that we draw reimbursement back. They require us to spend out, and then we have to get back what we spend. Same, all of our federal programs are drawdowns like that. Lastly, we have, any more questions on that? Okay, lastly, we have transportation, and what this is finishing out the money that the budget had allocated to transportation for equipping and painting and decaling and all that you approved last time we got together. This is the continuation of that work was by fitting these with air conditioners. So if you had 8 buses that we did paint and decal on, then these are the 8 buses that they're gonna have the air conditioning on. And this $124,000 is the remaining amount of money that was in that line item approved for transportation. Randall's aware of the fact that he's done all he can do as far as that goes. He has money in repairs. If he has a major repair, he has money in repairs that he can use. But as far as equipment purchases, this is it. He can't do any more this school year unless there was something out of our control. We would like to be able to come back and ask for about $45,000 later on, once we see how the budget goes, to go ahead and get that brand new bond bus. If we could go ahead and get that bus, it would again help get our fleet in better shape. He's got about 20 buses out there that are still either needing refurbished or repaired or retired, I'm sure is what he would like to do with them. And if you haven't saw the refurbished buses, they're impressive. They're very, very nice. You can't tell it from the outside that it's not a brand new bus. They're really nice. And those drivers are so much appreciative of having the air conditioning and having the new seats and some of the things that they're getting that they've never had. And I tell you, they're really nice. If you haven't gone to see one, you need to. But anyway, as we go through and see how payroll runs and see how expenses run, and like I said, we're trying to get to a balanced budget state. We would like to go buy that bond bus, but if we have to delay that to FY26, then we can do that too. But that's what this is. This is the last of the money. You won't see any more of these big ticket transportation purchase orders coming through.
And just to clarify something from our last meeting, Wrangell's done these things in stages, and so the buses will be stripped, and then they await your approval. So once you guys approve something, part of the work gets done. Then, once you guys approve the next one, the next part of the work gets done. So, as we were talking last week about making sure we have everything in the right order, Randall and I talked and just clarified kind of that process and how that works. I didn't want you to think that the work's being done before anything's being approved. So we have to double check and kind of make sure. It's just the buses, these operate kind of in odd fashion, because Randall's having to schedule them in a queue, get them ready to be able to do, and then once it's approved, then we can officially have them worked on. So Randall, I think you said everything should be finished maybe October-ish, these lagging ones that we've got, is that correct?
Yeah, I think that would be correct. We did, because the paint jobs are taking about 2 weeks to get them in, process and get them done, painted, re-decaled, and of course, like I said, the buses, we have 2 of them that are ready for the air conditioning. They're completely finished. We're waiting on that. So all the lighting, everything's put back together on it. But the rest of them are disassembled, so they're all in pieces and they're all in stages. So the prep work is being done. Now, what we did, with Kathy and I put the PO together for the paint jobs on it. They like to take these and and they wanna get them prepped, get them painted, and then come out with the final price on it. I've not had a school bus yet that has crossed the 22,000 mark when it comes to that. So when we made that PO for $25,000 a bus, I'm pretty comfortable that when it's all said and done, that GL code, that line item for the $780,000 we'll have, on a conservative estimate, about $3,000 will be under that mark by the time it's all said and done. Now the AC work, that is exactly what that cost, and that is done. So we can't reassemble the buses until that's finished, so we've got buses in various stages of process where they're stripping them, sanding them, priming them, they're in the paint booth, and then they come out and start decaling them. So it does take a measure of time to do that. So waiting on this PO it's not really caused us any issues. But when they go, if y'all approve that and you decide to do it, it takes about 1 week per bus to turn that out. Because where they're doing the work in Calhoun, DeKalb County has 300 buses in the works down there. So, but they're committed to turning our buses. That they're bringing one a week, and they've got one crew working on just our stuff. That's the way they did the other 10, and they're committed to do these two. So they've graciously brought us in. Everybody has been committed to doing it. I was surprised that we could turn 8 motors, 8 transmissions, UC, all the prep work that we've done. I mean, we've spent almost $700,000, and we did that in 8 weeks. That's pretty good. I didn't expect it to be that way. I figured we'd probably still be working on these after Christmas, but it looks like we're going to be on schedule. As Tim said, we should have them all back on the route by, I think the latest now, will probably be the 2nd week in October. And I would like to do this, if y'all would entertain this at the October board meeting. I want to bring you one that we haven't touched. I want to bring one of my 06 models that we've refurbed, one of my 2011 models, and a brand new bus. And I'll tell you, I'll take my refurb buses all day long where we're at. And we've come out the other end. By the time they're complete, it's about a $63,000 to $68,000 savings over buying a new bus. Our warranties on the bus are the same as what we have on a brand new bus. We have 4 years unlimited on the engines, 3 years unlimited on the transmissions. So, I mean, we're in a good spot with those buses. I would take those all day long over a new one. And they'll go to work every day. They're proven pieces of equipment. So, I'm pretty happy with the way they've come out. So, they're impressive.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Any more questions?
You said that they're out, and so do we have extra buses that we're able to still run all the routes, or you having to?
Yeah, the unfortunate part of it, I was hoping that I would have 4 of them before school started coming back, but you know, it's okay. The money and the POs, I get it, so we're patient with it. The vendors, business just slowed down, so they grabbed a chance to take our buses on, and we filled in some gaps where their business was slow. So they really did an impressive job by getting them, repairing them, changing motors, getting them back to us. It was incredible how fast they turned those. So, but what it did cause us, we had to pull 3 buses out of the boneyard. I spent money on those that I would have rather had Chris take a track hoe and dig a hole and shove them off in it. So, I don't never want to take good money and chase bad equipment. It's just not good business. But the thing that's comfortable, I took the 05 models. We had engine issues with them. They're electronic engines, and they'll work in the 06s that we're going to refurb. So we did minimal repair work on them, but they are solid engines. They do work, so they're not going to let us down. But if we have issues when we refurb, it would be a good replacement engine. We'll grab those and put those in the buses if we have bad motors as we go forward. So it preserves an opportunity for us to continue the refurb program without having to spend a lot of extra money. So Everybody good?
Any other questions on the financials or purchase orders?
Thank you, Dr. Smith, I appreciate it. Next up, on student achievement and success, we have an MOU that we're doing with a company called OLA, and they are going to run out of our Title I program, our title program, excuse me, not Title I necessarily. But they're gonna be working on some English classes for some of our families that, say the parents don't speak English. We're outsourcing this to them, paying for it with federal money. A lot of this came from the findings from monitoring, making sure we're supporting our families in the way we need to do. Dr. Esty, you got anything you want to add to that?
No, I think, the program looks like it's, well established as far as other districts and so forth, and it looks like we already have interest. We're starting out with just 20 adults, offering it to about 20. We already have interest of about 16, so we've almost filled a class.
So we're excited about that. That'll be a big help for some of our families that, a lot of times, work in a school, the kids speak English pretty well, the parents don't. And so the parents are always looking for ways or ear learning. And so we're excited to be able to have this opportunity. It'll be paid for out of our federal budget. The MOU is there, just kind of an FYI, we'll let you know what was going on with that. All right, quality workforce, like Mike, you got a policy reading there?
Got policy GARH, which is our leave policy, and we're proposing 2 or 3 modifications to the sick leave part of that policy. You have it in front of you there, there's just not a lot to it. So I'll just ask you, do you have any questions on those 3 or 4 modifications to that particular policy? This will be the first reading. Second reading will be at the regular session, and we'd ask that you waive the 3rd reading and go ahead and implement this to start it out this school year. I mean, it basically has to do with just our non-certified employees, our classified employees. We noticed, and I had never picked this up before, it was brought to our attention that pre-K parapros only got 3 days of sick leave, whereas all other parapros get 12 and a half days per year. And at some point, prior to my tenure, there was apparently, from what I learned, an attendance problem with the pre-K parapros. And so to address that, the superintendent at the time said, we're just gonna cut your sick days. So that we won't pay you if you're not here, basically. We'll cut it. And then the other change that's of some significance perhaps would be paying our classified employees that aren't on TRS, just the ones that are on the public school employee retirement system, which is a $10 a month contribution that they make, and for every month of service they get paid $17. So for instance, if somebody worked for 20 years, a maintenance person that wasn't TRS, custodian that wasn't TRS, they'd get paid $3,000 approximately a year. It's a small pension as compared to TRS. And so what is done with our nutrition employees out of federal funds is they're paid when they retire if they have any unused sick leave. And they're paid $10 a day for every day that they have not used. And so we're proposing for those non-TRS employees, which we don't have a whole lot at this point, that we do the same as we do with our nutrition workers. Pay them $10 per day for their unused sick leave to encourage them not to lay out for the last month or 2 before they retire.
Any questions? Thanks, Mike.
That's it.
All right, need a motion, we go into executive session. Motion by Brenda, second by Dwayne, all in favor? In executive session. executive session? Motion by Dwayne, second by Randall, all in favor? We are in open session. All right, any further board discussion?
Nope.
For this meeting.
Second.
Got a motion by Brenda, second by Aaron, all in favor? We are adjourned. All right. Right now for our regular meeting, you have a copy of the agenda. I do want to make a note, we go ahead and remove pledge of inspiration, we did that earlier. And remove items 7 and 8, which is executive session. I think we need to go back into executive session. We've already, I think, covered everything we need to cover. So I need a motion that we approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Motion by Aaron, second by Renda, all in favor? It is approved. All right, next is the consent items. We went over the August 1st, August 5th, and August 22nd minutes. Are there any changes on those? If not, then I need a motion. We approve the agenda or approve the minutes as presented, excuse me.
So moved.
Motion by Dwayne. Second by Tanner, all in favor? They are approved. All right, next is the superintendent's report. We had the splosh outline and the financial statement presented by Dr. Smith. Any questions on those? Hearing none, then I need a motion that we approve the splosh outline and financial statement as presented. Motion by Renda,
Second.
second by Kelly, all in favor? It is approved. Next is the 3 purchase orders. Since we do have the one that's for transportation that is over 120,000, I think it was, and I'm just trying to recall from memory, we will need to waive the 14-day policy on that. Any questions about waiving policy? All right, first now, then I need a motion that we waive the 14-day policy. Motion by Dwayne,
Second.
second by Kelly, all in favor? It is approved. Then I need a motion that we approve the 3 purchase orders as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Renda, second by Conrad, all in favor? Purchase orders are approved. Next is the policy GARH. This is the second reading. We've been asked to waive the 3rd reading on that. Any questions on that policy, that change? All right, hearing none, then I need a motion we approve policy GARH as presented, waiving the 3rd reading.
So moved.
Motion by Renda,
Second.
second by Dwayne, all in favor? It is approved. All right, personnel. I need a motion that we approve the personnel list as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Dwayne, second by Kelly, or Conrad.
Conrad.
Conrad,
Sounded like.
all in favor? I had the right direction. All right, it is approved. All right, any further board discussion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Dwayne, second by Aaron, all in favor?